Across the galaxy, ancient ruins filled the dead planets. Some were covered in sand, some were hidden under frozen oceans, some floated in empty space where their suns had died. Every advanced empire that had once ruled the stars was now gone, and every time their ruins were found, archaeologists uncovered the same final message: different languages, different alphabets, different writing styles, but always the same words. Beware Earth, they guard something worse. For thousands of years, no one understood what the warning meant. Earth was a quiet planet now. Humans rarely spoke to other species. They had stopped expanding. They had no wars. No one feared Earth anymore. But Dr. Selen did not believe in easy answers. She was one of the galaxy's best archaeologists. Her green eyes were sharp. Her thin antennae twitched whenever she found a mystery. She had studied the ruins of 27 dead civilizations, and in every one, she had found the same message about Earth. Now she stood in front of the biggest discovery of her life. Underneath the burned remains of the Zeroth Empire's capital city, she had found a hidden archive. The Zeroth Empire was the oldest fallen civilization, older than the current Galactic Council, older than written history. Inside the archive was a single black crystal, smooth, cold, heavy in her hand. Selen stared at it, unsure if she should activate it. But her curiosity won. She touched the crystal to her translator device. The crystal came to life. A hologram appeared. 3 leaders of the Zeroth Empire stared at her. Their faces were full of terror. Their skin was torn. Their eyes were bleeding. One of them whispered, "Do not wake the Earth's secret. We tried. We failed." Selen's breath stopped. She watched as the leaders collapsed on the screen, choking on invisible air. The message ended. Her hands shook. She knew she should report the find to the Galactic Council. But something inside her told her not to wait. She wanted to see for herself. She decided to travel to Earth. Her ship, the Starlight Echo, was ready within hours. She loaded the black crystal into a locked case. She took only her most trusted AI, named Lyra. As her ship rose from the ruins, she sent one private message to her log. "I am going to Earth. If I do not return, remember this warning. They guard something worse." The journey to Earth took 3 galactic jumps. She passed nebulae that shimmered like broken glass. She crossed empty star systems where civilizations had once thrived, but now were nothing but dust. Lyra spoke to her softly. "Dr. Selen, are you sure about this decision?" "I have to know," Selen whispered. Her ship approached the solar system. The planet Earth came into view. But something was wrong. Earth's orbit was quiet. No ships, no communication signals, no defense systems active. She scanned the planet. Cities were dark, lights off, roads empty. There was no sign of human life. Selen felt her heart beat faster. "Lyra, run a life scan," she ordered. The computer scanned the entire planet. "1 heartbeat detected," Lyra said. "Deep underground," Selen frowned. "Only 1 confirmed. 1 living human." Selen's ship landed in what used to be called New Boston. The buildings were cracked. The streets were covered in strange symbols painted in red. Her translator could not understand the writing. It was not in any human language. She stepped out of her ship carefully, wearing her breathing mask. The air was cold but breathable. Her boots made soft sounds on the cracked pavement. The city felt watched. She activated her scanner and followed. The signal of the heartbeat, it led her to an old metal door hidden under rubble. It was a secret entrance, a tunnel going deep below the Earth's surface. Selen hesitated. She thought of turning back, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She entered the tunnel. The deeper she went, the more she noticed something strange. The walls were covered with the same warning written in hundreds of alien languages. "Beware Earth, they guard something worse." She reached the end of the tunnel and found a sealed door. It was locked with a DNA scanner. Selen touched the scanner, but it blinked red. Access denied. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Selen turned quickly, ready to defend herself, but it was not a soldier or a monster. It was a human woman. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were calm but hollow. Her clothes were simple but clean. She carried no weapon. Selen stared at her in shock. "Are you the last human?" she asked. The woman nodded. "My name is Mara." Selen lowered her weapon slowly. "What happened to humanity?" Mara's voice was quiet but steady. "We are not extinct. We became guardians. We stayed to guard it. Selen's eyes narrowed. Guard what? Mara pointed to the sealed door behind Selen. Something worse, she whispered. Selen felt cold sweat on her neck. What is inside that door? She asked again. Eyes did not blink. The reason all civilizations fall, we are not protecting ourselves. We are protecting the galaxy from what is buried here. Selen wanted to ask more questions, but suddenly her scanner beeped. Her ship, still waiting on the surface, sent a warning. Multiple unknown ships were approaching Earth. Selen quickly checked her communication channel. The Galactic Council had received her earlier message. They were sending a military fleet. They did not believe her warning. They thought Earth was hiding secret weapons. They planned to take control. Selen looked at Mara. The Council is coming. They will break through this door. Mara's face did not change. She spoke softly. Then they will learn why every empire leaves the same message before they fall. Mouth felt dry. What will happen if the door is opened? Mara whispered. Existence has rules. We broke them once. That is why we guard the door. If they break it again, there will be nothing left to guard. Selen looked at the sealed door. The scanner showed the heartbeat inside. Something was alive down there, and now it knew she was here. Selen sent one final message to her log, her hands shaking. I have found the last human. She is not a survivor. She is a warden. Earth is not a planet of life. It is a prison, and something inside is already awake. Then she cut the signal. Above them, the fleet of the Galactic Council prepared to land. Below them, something ancient waited behind the door. And Selen realized Talachi was part of the warning now. The sky above Earth was no longer empty. A fleet of Galactic Council warships now circled the planet like hungry predators. Their engines hummed with silent power. Their weapons were locked and ready. Inside the Council's flagship, Admiral Kor stood in front of a massive screen. His cold reptilian eyes stared at Earth below. He had received the transmission from Dr. Selen, but he did not believe it, guarding something worse. He repeated with a mocking tone, What nonsense? The Admiral believed Earth was hiding powerful technology, something ancient, something dangerous. But he thought it was just a weapon humans refused to share. And now that humans were gone, he planned to take it, send ground. Troops, the Admiral ordered. The fleet obeyed. Thousands of black dropships launched from the Council warships. They burned through Earth's atmosphere like shooting stars, leaving trails of fire in the sky. Deep below the surface, Selen watched the sky on her wrist device. The warning lights flashed red. She turned to Mara, the last human. They're coming, Selen whispered. Mara stood still, her face calm. They don't understand. Selen's throat was dry. Then explain it to me. Mara looked at the sealed door in front of them. Her eyes did not blink. You cannot explain darkness to those who've only seen light, she said. Selen frowned. Mara finally spoke in a voice soft but steady. A long time ago, before the first alien species existed, before the first galaxy formed, something else was here. It is not a life form. It is not death. It is something between. Alan's antennae twitched. What do you mean? Mara looked down at her hands. It feeds on collapse, she said. It waits until civilizations grow too big. Then it wakes. It pulls them down. It whispers to them. It makes them destroy themselves. Selen felt a cold wave crawl through her skin. You're talking about a concept, not a real thing. Mara's eyes met hers. No, Mara whispered. It is real. We trapped it here. Selen wanted to argue, but her translator beeped. The Council dropships had landed on the surface. Troops in heavy armor marched through the empty cities. Their scanners picked up no threats, no life forms, except for one signal. Deep underground Selen and Mara. The Council troops moved fast. They followed the old tunnels. Their weapons were ready. Their helmets glowed with scanning lights. Inside the tunnel, Selen's communicator crackled. Dr. Selen, this is Commander Vec of the Galactic Council forces. We are approaching your location. Do not interfere. Stand down. Selen swallowed hard. She looked at Mara. We need to stop them. Mara shook her head. It's too late. The troops reached the last chamber. They surrounded Selen and Mara with guns pointed at them. Commander Vec stepped forward. His armor was silver and his voice was sharp. Step away from the door. Selen raised her hands. You don't understand what's behind it. Vec's eyes narrowed. We understand perfectly. Earth has been hiding forbidden tech. The Council will take control now. Mara did not move. Her voice was soft, but carried power. You are not ready for what you will find. Vec ignored her. He signaled his engineers. Open the door. Selen tried to stop them. Please listen. This is not about technology. It's about something older, something alive. Vec laughed bitterly. Dr. Selen, you've studied ruins too long. There are no ghosts in the universe. The engineers worked fast. They cracked the DNA lock. They bypassed the codes. The door began to open. A slow hiss filled the chamber as cold air rushed out. Dark mist spilled from the gap. Selen stepped back, her heart racing. What did you do? She whispered. Inside the door was not a room. It was a hole, a black, endless hole that did not belong in this universe. It was not space. It was not emptiness. It was something worse. Selen's translator failed to describe it. Her mind felt like it was falling just by looking at it. The soldiers stared into the hole at first. They saw nothing. Then they began to hear voices, their own voices, whispering things they had never said, whispering things they would never admit. The strongest soldier dropped his weapon. I'm sorry, he whispered. He stepped into the hole. He disappeared. Another soldier fell to her knees. Tears ran down her face. I don't want to remember, she said softly. She crawled toward the hole and vanished. One by one, the soldiers were pulled toward it, not by force, but by something inside themselves. Selen watched in horror. This isn't possible, she whispered. Mara's voice was steady beside her. This is why we guard it, she said. It is not a weapon. It is a mirror. It shows you the worst part of yourself. Selen shook her head. That can't destroy civilizations. Mara looked at her sadly. Can't it? Selen thought of the ancient empires, all powerful, all proud, all collapsed. She thought of the warnings. Beware Earth. They guard something worse. She finally understood. It's not a monster, Selen whispered. It's a collapse trigger. Mara nodded. It waits for the moment when species grow too large, too arrogant, when they cannot face their own reflection. It shows them the truth, and they fall apart. Selen's legs felt weak. What happens if it escapes this place? Mara's eyes were sad but calm. Then the galaxy ends. Not by war, not by invasion, but by self-destruction. Selen turned back to the hole. The soldiers were gone. Commander Vex stood at the edge, shaking. He was whispering to himself. I never wanted power, he said softly. I just wanted to be remembered. He stepped forward and disappeared into the darkness. Selen closed her eyes. The chamber was silent now. The door remained open. Mara spoke again. This was the test. She said, every civilization finds this place eventually. They are warned. If they listen, they survive longer. If they don't, they fall, Selen whispered. Is there no way to stop it? Mara sighed. There is one way. Selen's eyes opened. What? Is it? Mara looked at her. Someone must stay and guard the door, she said. Selen's stomach twisted. You mean me? Mara nodded. I have been the warden for 5,000 years. But now I am tired. Selen realized the truth Mara had called the council here on purpose. This was her way out. Selen felt fear, but also something else. Purpose. She knew if she left, the galaxy would be doomed. But if she stayed, her mind raced. Could she do it? Could she be the guardian of the worst secret in the universe? Mara placed a hand on Selen's shoulder. Don't have to answer now, she whispered, but soon the door will call for you. Selen looked into the hole again. This time she did not see fear. She saw duty above them in space. The council fleet was silent. No ships moved, no messages came. Selen sent one last note to her log. Earth is not a home. It is a lock, and now I am holding the key. The air inside the underground chamber was colder now, silent, heavy. Selen sat alone beside the open door. Mara was gone. She had stepped into the blackness without fear, leaving Selen to decide whether to follow or to stay. Selen had not moved. For hours, maybe days. Time felt strange near the door. Her eyes stared into the dark mist, but her mind drifted through memories. She remembered when she first started studying lost civilizations. She had wanted to solve mysteries, uncover the past, learn the truth, but no one warned her what the truth might look like. Now she knew. All the warnings from dead empires, all the strange ruins, all the collapses. It wasn't war or disease that ended them. It was this, a door that leads to the worst part of yourself, Selin whispered softly. Why do I have to be the one? Her own voice echoed back from the darkness. Because you found it. She flinched. Her translator beeped in confusion. The signal was not coming from outside. It was coming from inside her own mind. Selin touched her forehead, breathing fast. No, she whispered. I'm not like the others. I can resist, the black mist answered her thoughts. Everyone says that at first. Selin stood up. Her legs were weak, but her mind sharpened. She looked at the door again. The edge of the void rippled like dark water above her. The council fleet remained frozen in orbit. No messages, no orders, silence. She checked her wrist. Device. Signals were still jammed. No calls in or out. The whole galaxy could be falling apart right now, and she wouldn't know. Selin's thoughts raced. Maybe she could seal the door again. Maybe she could lock it back up. But the voice returned. You cannot lock what is already open, Selin whispered. There must be a way. The darkness pulsed softly, not angry. Almost gentle. You misunderstand. It whispered, I am not your enemy. I am your reflection. Selin gritted her teeth. No, you're a trap, a poison, the darkness answered calmly. I only show you what you hide. Selin shook her head. I don't want to see it. The voice was quiet now, almost kind. No one does. Her knees buckled, but she forced herself to stay standing. Selin realized this wasn't about surviving. It was about deciding. Leave the door open and let the galaxy fall. Or stay here forever. Watch the door. Make sure no one else opens it further. Whispered to herself, if I stay here, I'll be alone for the rest of time. The darkness shifted. No, you'll be with me. Selin's heart pounded. I don't want to be with you. The mist pulsed again. You already are. Her mind flashed back to every mistake she had made, every lie she had told, every time she had ignored warnings to chase knowledge for her own pride. This was the price to face herself. Selin sat down on the cold floor. Her eyes stared into the hole, but her mind floated far away. Then something strange happened. A new sound, footsteps, real. Footsteps, not in her head. Selin's eyes snapped open. She turned toward the tunnel. A figure was walking toward her. Not a soldier, not Mara, someone else. The figure stepped closer, and Selin's translator activated. I come from the Shador. Cluster, the figure said. I received your message. Selin blinked. I didn't send a message. The figure's skin was blue-gray. His eyes were covered by protective goggles. He held no weapons. His hands were open. I heard the call, he said softly. Selin stood. Up, confused but alert. What call? The stranger smiled gently. The same one all the dead civilizations heard. The door calls to anyone who reaches a certain point. Selin felt a chill crawl down her back. Who are you? The stranger spoke simply. I am the next warden. Selin's mind spun. But I thought I was supposed to be the stranger, nodded. But not forever. Each civilization chooses someone. Each person faces the door in their time. Selin swallowed hard. Why would anyone choose this? The stranger's eyes looked deep into hers, because the other choice is worse. Selin thought about it. Letting the door stay unguarded meant doom for everyone. Guarding it meant pain, but survival, Selin whispered. What happens if no one comes to guard it? The stranger's smile faded. Then the universe ends. Selin's chest tightened. But you came, she said. The stranger nodded. I came because you sent a signal without knowing it. When you looked into the door and refused to fall, you lit a beacon. Others, like me, feel it. Selin's eyes widened. There are others, the stranger nodded again, scattered across the galaxy. Watchers, guardians of collapse points. We keep the balance. Selin's shoulders dropped. For the first time, she did not feel alone. She whispered, What do I do now? The stranger reached out his hand. Rest. I will take your place for a while. Go back to the surface. Share your knowledge. Warn others, Selin hesitated. But what if they don't listen? The stranger's eyes were sad. They never do. but we try anyway. Selen closed her eyes. She thought of the Council. She thought of the empires before them. She thought of the simple warning left by every dead civilization. Beware Earth. They guard something worse. Now she understood fully the thing Earth guarded was not a monster in the dark. It was the mirror of truth. Selen placed her hand on the stranger's shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. The stranger smiled. "I will hold the door now." Selen turned away from the black mist. She walked slowly toward the surface. Her legs felt lighter with each step when she reached the upper levels. She looked at the sky. The Council ships were still there, but they were empty. To the galaxy, do not seek Earth's secret unless you are ready to face yourself. Then she shut off her communicator. She walked into the empty streets, breathing the cold air behind her. The door remained open but guarded and somewhere far away. Across stars and galaxies, other watchers stood by other doors, Selen whispered softly to herself as she disappeared into the misty morning. This is not the end of the universe. She smiled, but it could have been. Selen returned to her research vessel quietly. Her boots echoed in the empty halls. No crew, no guards, just silence. Her mind kept replaying the last few hours. The door, the darkness, the stranger who called himself a warden. She had left the underground ruins behind, but part of her still felt trapped down there. Her ship's control panel blinked softly. No messages from the Council, no orders, nothing. Selen sat in the command chair. Her fingers hovered over the console. She wanted to call for help. She wanted to tell someone about the door, about the secret Earth was hiding, but deep down she knew the truth. If she told the wrong people, fly away, disappear into deep space, hide from all of it. But then her console beeped. A new signal. Her eyes narrowed. That was impossible. The area was under communication lockdown. No ships were supposed to be nearby. No beacons active. She checked the source. It was coming from Earth. Selen's heart started to race. The signal was weak, but it was there. A pulse, then silence. Another pulse, then silence. Selen leaned forward. Her translator scanned the pattern. It wasn't a distress call. It was something older, a language older than the Council, older than the Zeroth Empire. Selen whispered. It's pre-collapse code. Her translator displayed the words on the screen. 3 simple lines. You opened the door. You left a gap. Now they will come. Selen's mouth went dry. Whispered, "Who is they?" Her ship trembled slightly. Not from engines, not from space debris. It was something else. Her sensors picked up a strange ripple in space nearby. Not a ship, not a weapon, something. Wrong. Selen activated long-range scanners. The ripple grew larger. Her screen showed no objects, no enemies. Just a shadow spreading across space like a crack in glass. Selen whispered, "This isn't possible." She watched the black line widen. It wasn't coming from her planet. It wasn't coming from Earth. It was coming from between them. From the space in between realities, Selen's mind tried to make sense of it. Her translator pinged again. A second message appeared. It wasn't from Earth. This time it was from inside the crack. "We saw you look into the mirror. We are what the mirror reflects." Selen's hands shook. The Council had no records of this. The ancient archives never mentioned what would happen if the door was opened. They had only warned not to try. Selen whispered to herself, "Maybe it's a test." But her mind knew better. The crack in space widened again through her screen. She saw shapes moving behind it. Long, thin shadows. Eyes that weren't eyes. Movements that did not follow normal physics. Her ship trembled harder. Now the gravity around her vessel started to twist. Selen gritted her teeth. Stabilize gravity field. The ship tried, but the console flashed red dot error. Unknown distortion. Her comms lit up again. This time, multiple signals. All the dead civilizations, their warnings were coming back to life. Thousands of ancient messages flooded her screen at once. Different voices, different alphabets, but the same message. Beware Earth. They guard something worse, Selen whispered. It wasn't just about Earth. Her eyes stared at the growing crack in space. It's about what's on the other side. Her ship's AI spoke softly. Object approaching. Selen's hands tightened. What object? The AI hesitated. Unknown. On the screen, a figure stepped through the crack. It was tall. Its skin looked like moving smoke. Its eyes were endless. Holes. It spoke without moving its mouth. "I am not here to harm you," the figure said. Selen whispered. "Then why are you here?" The figure's voice echoed directly into her thoughts. "To remind you," Selen's heart pounded. "Me? Of what?" The figure answered without emotion, "that you cannot guard what you do not understand." Her breath shook. "I understand enough. The real secret is deeper." Selen's mind screamed, "Inside, there's more." The figure's form flickered. "Earth is not guarding the worst thing. They are guarding the next thing," Selen whispered. "What do you mean?" The crack in space pulsed. More figures appeared behind the first. One, millions of them, all identical, all watching her. The first figure spoke again. "You left a gap in the door." Selen's eyes narrowed. "I closed it." The figure's head shook slowly. "No, you walked away." "That is not the same." Selen tried to think of a solution. "How do I fix this?" The figure stepped closer to the screen. "You cannot fix what was never broken. You can only choose what happens next." Selen whispered, "What are my choices?" The figure's form darkened. "Choice 1. We step through and show your galaxy the truth." Selen's voice cracked. "And the second choice," the figure whispered coldly, "you come with us and guard the second door." Selen's mind raced. A second door? She thought the first one was the only one. The figure smiled. "Did you really believe there was just one?" Selen's body trembled. "I can't do this." The figure's eyes burned softly. "You already started." Behind the figure appeared across the sky. Earth was no longer sending signals. The entire planet was dark. Silent. Selen's ship hovered alone in the cold space between galaxies. Caught between two impossible decisions, her voice whispered one last question. "What happens if I refuse both choices?" The figure smiled wider. "Then your universe learns the third option." Selen's throat tightened. "What is the third option?" The figure's eyes turned to endless black. "You do nothing. And then everything ends." Selen closed her eyes. Her mind flashed through every civilization that had left the warning. Now she understood. Why they all said the same thing. It wasn't just about Earth. It was about what came next, and that next step had arrived. Selen stood frozen in the command chair. Her ship floated in dead silence. On the main screen, the shadowy figure waited for her answer. Behind it, the other shapes watched like statues in the void. No breath, no sound, just presence. Her lips trembled. "Need time to think?" The figure's eyes stayed locked on hers. "There is no time. You opened the first door. The second is already weakening." Selen's voice cracked. "What's behind the second door?" The figure tilted its head. "That makes us afraid." Her heart skipped a beat. "You're afraid? But you're the worst thing, right?" The figure's eyes dimmed. "No, we are the first warning. We keep balance. But the thing beyond the second door, it has no purpose," Selen whispered. "Then why guard it?" The figure's voice dropped lower. "Because if it wakes up, there is no more balance, no more stories, no more galaxies, just nothing." Selen looked down at her hands. They were shaking. She forced herself to breathe. Her mind screamed for her to run, to fly away, to leave this part of the universe and never return. But she knew it was too late for that. She whispered, "What do you want me to do?" The figure answered softly, "You must become the next guardian." Selen's throat tightened. "And if I don't?" The figure's form shifted, its smoke-like body flickering. "Then the gap you opened will grow, and we will be forced to act." Selen's eyes narrowed. "Act? What does that mean?" The figure replied without emotion. "We will erase everything. We will end your galaxy before the second door fully opens. That is the only safe option." Selen's heart slammed against her chest. "You would destroy all life." The figure nodded once. "Yes, before it becomes prey." Her mind flashed, with visions she didn't understand. Endless voids, stars being swallowed, entire timelines erased as if they never existed. Selen whispered, "There has to be another way." The figure's head slowly turned. "There is." Selen leaned forward. The figure stared into her soul. "You take the burden. You guard the second door." Selen's breath stopped. "What does that mean?" The figure spoke like a cold wind. "You will exist between realities alone, forever awake." forever watching. You will keep the door sealed. Selen's hands clutched the chair. No, there has to be something else, the figure whispered again. There is nothing else. Her screen flashed. The crack in space grew wider. More shadows appeared, and then Earth sent another signal. Selen's eyes darted to the console. Her translator blinked. It was the same message as before. Beware Earth, they guard something worse. But this time, a new line appeared beneath it. Now it's your turn. Selen stared at the words. Her chest rose and fell. She whispered, Earth knew this would happen. The figure's eyes narrowed. They did not tell you because they hoped someone else would take their place. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And now that someone is me, the figure said nothing. The shadows behind it waited, silent, cold. Selen stood up from her chair. Her knees almost gave out, but she forced herself to stay strong. Her mind raced. Was there really no escape? She tried to think of a plan, some clever trick, some way to outsmart the situation, but the truth slammed into her mind. This wasn't a puzzle. This wasn't a game. This was the oldest deal in existence. Someone always had to guard the door. Whispered, what happens if I agree? The figure's smoke body flickered softly. You will be changed. You will no longer be part of normal time. Your body will fade. Your mind will stretch across dimensions. Her throat tightened. Will I still be me? The figure hesitated for the first time. You will remember being you, but you will also become something more. Her hands trembled, and if I refuse, the figure's voice dropped lower. Then the galaxy burns, and the second thing wakes. Selen closed her eyes. She thought of her people, her home planet, the stars she loved, the stories she studied. All of it would be gone. Her voice came out as a whisper. I don't want to be a guardian. The figure's voice answered softly. None of us do. The shadows behind the figure moved for the first time. Selen realized they were all past guardians, each one trapped between life and death, watching, waiting. Her eyes filled with tears. But I'm just a scientist. The figure's voice echoed like thunder. You are the one who opened the door. Her hands clenched into fists. I was curious. The figure's eyes flared. Curiosity has a price. Selen looked at the crack in space. It pulsed softly, like a giant heartbeat. She whispered, if I say yes, can I ever speak to anyone again? The figure's voice softened. No, but you will hear everything. You will watch every world. You will know every secret. Selen's heart broke quietly inside her chest. Her voice barely made a sound. I don't want to be alone. The figure whispered, better you than everything else. She wiped her tears. I don't have a choice, do I? The figure's smoke twisted gently. You do. But only one choice saves your galaxy. Selen breathed deeply, her hands pressed. Against the ship's cold console, she whispered one final word. Fine. The figure nodded once. So it is done. Selen's ship shuddered. Her body dissolved into light. Her mind stretched. Beyond time, her voice became part of the space between worlds. She was no longer Selen, the archaeologist. She was now Selen, the guardian. Behind the second door, something worse waited, but it would not wake today. Selen would make sure of that, as her last thought echoed through the void. She whispered the same warning all lost empires had left behind. Beware Earth. They guard something worse. And now, so did she. Selen floated between worlds. Her body was gone. Her voice was gone. But her mind was everywhere. She could hear the thoughts of every civilization in the galaxy. She could see time folding, stars dying, and new life beginning. She was inside the cracks of reality, staring at the second door. It pulsed softly. Something inside it whispered to her. Selen tried not to listen, but the whispers were clever. They spoke in the voices of people she loved. They said her name, .selan.selan.com. Closer. Her mind pushed back. I know this trick. You want me to open the second door? The whispers laughed. We don't need to trick you. You'll come willingly. Selen's thoughts tightened. I won't. But the whispers never stopped. They told her about the universe beyond the crack. A universe that had no laws, no time, no time. They promised freedom. Selen knew it was a lie. But part of her wanted to believe. She watched thousands of galaxies spin around her, she watched other guardians fade away, their strength weakening. Some had guarded the door for millions of years. Others had failed. That's why the warnings existed. Beware Earth. They guard something worse. But Earth was not the only guardian anymore. Selen was now part of the chain. Her mind stretched further. She searched for Earth's secret. The one no one had explained. And then she saw it. Earth wasn't guarding the door because they were brave. They were guarding it because they had no other choice. Selen watched Earth's leaders in secret meetings. She listened to their conversations from thousands of years ago. They had tried to destroy the thing behind the second door once, but they failed. Instead, they built a trap around it, a prison made of time, space, and consciousness. Into the void, they used themselves as bait. The whispers from the door laughed again. Of course they did, because Earth was born too close to the crack. Selen realized the terrible truth. Earth's position in the galaxy wasn't random. It was part of the seal. That's why every fallen empire left the same warning. It wasn't just about Earth being dangerous, it was about Earth being necessary. If Earth ever disappeared, the second door would open fully. Selen's mind reached deeper. She found the hidden files inside the galaxy's oldest ruins. Messages left by ancient species, notes written in secret code, all of them said the same thing. We tried to replace Earth, we failed. Something worse woke up. Selen's thoughts raced. So this has happened before. The whispers answered softly again and again. Selen asked. The question she feared the most, did Earth create the thing behind the second door? The whispers laughed, but gave no answer. Selen stared into the crack. Behind it, the second thing stirred. She felt it press against her mind. It was not evil, it was not good. It was beyond both. It simply was not a force that didn't understand life or death. A force that wanted to remake the universe into something different. Selen whispered, "Why do you keep calling me?" The whispers replied in her own voice, "Because you are curious. Because you want to know what we are. Because part of you wants to open the door." Selen's thoughts trembled. "I won't." The second door pulsed again. A small crack appeared in its surface. Selen panicked. "No, I didn't do that." The whispers laughed. "You did it by thinking about us." Selen forced her mind to seal the crack. She pushed back with everything. She had her consciousness burned like fire, but the crack stopped growing. For now, Selen drifted back into the Guardian space. She watched civilizations rise and fall. She saw humans invent new machines, new weapons, new ways to survive. She saw alien empires study Earth, trying to understand the warning. Each time, they failed. Each time, their last message was the same. Beware, Earth. They guard something worse. Selen wondered how long she could last. The other guardians had failed. Before, some went mad. Some joined the whispers. Selen whispered into the void, "I won't break." But the second door answered, "We know you will." Eventually, Selen reached out to Earth. With her mind, she listened to the thoughts of Earth's leaders. They knew she was watching. They sent her a message. Without speaking, it was a simple thought. "Thank you for taking the burden. We are sorry. But we had no other choice." Selen felt anger rise in her mind. "You knew this would happen. You used me," Earth's thought answered. "We had to. You were the only one who could replace us. Our time is almost over." Selen's thoughts narrowed. So, what happens when Earth is gone? The whispers laughed again. That is the final door. Selen realized the horrible truth. There wasn't just one secret. There were layers first. Earth guarded the thing behind the second door. Now Selen was part of the chain, but one day, Earth itself would fall. And when that day came, the final door would open. Selen whispered into the darkness, "What's behind the final door?" The whispers spoke in all the voices of the galaxy. Something that should never have been. Selen's mind stretched wider. She saw flashes of something huge. Something beyond shape, beyond logic. It was older than the universe. Older than time. She saw it stir in its sleep. Its breath moved between galaxies. Selen's thoughts whispered one final question. "Why me?" The whispers replied. "Because you looked too deep. Because you didn't stop. Because you wanted to know. Now you do." Selen watched the second door pulse. Again, her mind prepared to guard it for as long as she could, but she knew the truth. One day, Even she would fall. And when that happened, something worse would come through. As she drifted in the silence, Selen whispered the oldest warning of all. Beware Earth, they guard something worse. And no one, not even Selen, knew how long. The door would stay closed. Selen floated in silence. Time no longer mattered, but something was changing. The crack in the second door had not grown wider, but it had not healed either. It stayed there, pulsing like a living scar in the fabric of the universe. Selen watched. It closely, she counted every vibration, every whisper. The voices were softer now, but they were smarter. They didn't beg her to open the door. They asked simple questions. Aren't you lonely? Don't you miss your body? Don't you miss touch? Sound? Smell? Selen pushed the thoughts away. I chose this. I chose to guard the door. The whispers smiled in her mind. No, you stumbled into it. Selen focused her mind. She scanned the galaxy for changes. Her thoughts traveled faster than light. She watched civilizations build and fall. She listened to the secrets of kings, the lies of priests, the fears of scientists. But then she saw something new. A fracture was forming not in the door but in Earth. Itself, Selen zoomed in with her. Mind, Earth's leaders were dying. Their systems were breaking. The chain of guardianship was weakening. She whispered into the void. No, they're not ready. The whispers answered softly. That's the problem with guardians. They get tired. They get old. They forget why they started. Selen tried to warn Earth. She sent waves of thought into human minds. Some of them heard her. They dreamed of a shadowed woman whispering in their sleep. They woke up terrified, clutching their heads, but they didn't know what the message meant. Selen whispered again. You must survive. You must not fall. But Earth was slipping. Its atmosphere was dying. Its people were fighting. Its governments were collapsing. Selen realized the horrifying truth. If Earth died, the crack in the second door would widen. She couldn't stop it alone. She needed Earth. To hold the seal in place, Selen reached out to other species. She whispered into alien minds. Help Earth. Keep the Guardians alive. Don't let the chain break. But the galaxy didn't listen. They thought Earth was weak now, vulnerable. Many empires had forgotten the warnings. They thought the message was just superstition. Selen watched fleets gather around Earth. Alien armadas. Pointed weapons at the planet. Selen whispered in panic. No, don't do this. You don't understand. But they couldn't hear her fully. They only heard fragments. And in those fragments, they thought she was saying, destroy Earth before. It's too late, Selen screamed into the void. No, that's not what I meant. But the decision was already made. Hundreds of alien ships fired weapons at Earth. Beams of energy sliced through the sky. Explosions rocked the surface. Selen felt the chain weaken. The second door pulsed harder. The whispers laughed softly. They're doing our work for us. Selen tried to stop the attack. She reached into the minds of the generals. Some ships exploded before they could fire. Some pilots screamed as visions of the second door flashed into their minds. But not all of them. Stopped Earth burned. Selen saw Earth's leaders send one final message into space. It was the same warning. Beware. Earth, they guard something worse. Selen whispered into the crack. This is not what was supposed to happen, the whispers answered. It's always what happens. Selen watched Earth's systems shut down. Its defense networks failed. Its guardians died one by one. Her mind stretched to hold the seal in place. But she was alone now, and she was breaking. Selen whispered, I need help. The whispers responded, no one is coming. Selen reached deeper into the universe. She tried to find anyone, any species that still remembered the truth. She found a few old monks in forgotten temples. Lonely, creatures hiding in black holes. They whispered back to her, we remember. Selen begged them, help me seal the door. The old minds answered sadly, we cannot. We are too weak now. Earth was the last. Selen realized what the whispers in the crack had been waiting for. Not just Earth's destruction, but her despair. The crack widened. Selen screamed into the void. No, I won't let you out. The whispers pressed against her. Thoughts, why not? You've lost. You're alone. There's nothing left to guard. Selen focused every part of her mind. She tried to close the crack. She used ancient codes. She spoke the first language of the universe. She summoned forgotten physics, but the crack pulsed wider. Hand reached through. It wasn't really a hand, but it looked like one because Selen's mind couldn't process what it really was. It touched her consciousness. Selen felt herself shatter. Her mind broke into pieces, her memories scattered across galaxies. But one part of her held on the smallest piece, the part that still whispered, "No, not yet." Selen wrapped that piece around the crack dot. She became part of the seal itself. Her last thought was simple. "I am the door now." The whispers laughed softly. "You can hold us back for a little longer, but you will fade. Everything fades, and when you do, the rest of us will come through." Selen drifted in silence. Her pieces floated in black space, but the warning remained. Somewhere, in the ruins of a burned Earth, a single message kept repeating. A beacon pulsed the words into deep space. Again and again. "Beware, Earth." They guard something worse. Even though Earth had fallen, the message survived. For now, but the fracture had already begun, and soon, someone else would look too deep, and the process would start all over again. Somewhere far beyond Earth, in the cold edge of the galaxy, a signal kept pulsing. It was old now, broken, but it still whispered the same message. "Beware, Earth. They guard something worse." Most ships ignored the signal. Most species thought it was just space noise. But not all. A scavenger crew, drifting through the ruins of dead civilizations, picked up the signal. Their ship was small, ugly, and held together by rust and luck. Or warriors? They were grave robbers. They hunted for ancient technology and sold it to the highest bidder. Their captain Rilak stared at the signal on the screen. "This again," he muttered. His second-in-command, Dova, frowned. Same message as always. Different frequency, different source. Rilak rubbed his chin. Did it come from Earth? Dova checked the data. "No, Earth is." "Gone? Then where's it coming from?" Dova's eyes narrowed. "The signal is bouncing off something, like it's being reflected." "Reflected from what? In space? It's not on any map." Rilak stared at the screen. "What do you mean, not on any map?" "I mean, it wasn't there before. A huge structure, orbiting where Earth used to be." Rilak leaned forward. "Show me." The screen flickered. A shadow appeared, a black shape against the stars. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a ship. It was something else, Rilak whispered. "What in the void is that?" Dova zoomed in. Her voice shook. "I don't know." The crew fell silent. The signal kept repeating, "Beware, Earth." They guard something worse, but the words were slightly different now. Rilak squinted at the screen. The message changed. He whispered. Dova read it aloud. "Beware the seal. It is." Breaking, Rilak's mouth went dry. "We should leave." But Dova shook her head. "We're scavengers, Rilak. If that thing is ancient tech, it's worth a fortune." Rilak hesitated. Greed pulled at his mind. Fear pulled harder. But greed won. "Prepare the ship," he ordered. They flew toward the black structure. As they got closer, strange things started to happen. The ship's lights flickered, voices whispered. In the engine room, crew members heard sounds that weren't there. Dova grabbed her head. "I hear someone calling me," Rilak snapped. "Ignore it." But his hands trembled. They reached the black structure. It had no doors, no windows, no signals of its own, yet the message kept coming from it. "Beware the seal. It is breaking." Rilak ordered a scan. The results made no sense. "There's something inside it," Dova whispered. "Like what? I don't know." "It's not matter. It's not energy. It's something else." Rilak stared at the screen. Then they received a message. But it wasn't from the black structure. It came from deep space. A broken voice whispered into their minds. "Don't open it. Relax." Blood went cold. "Who was that?" Dova shivered. "I think it was her." Dova's eyes filled with tears. "The woman from the stories. The one who guards the door." Rilak clenched his fists. "That's just a myth." But the voice spoke again. "I am not a myth. I am the last lock." Rilak tried to turn the ship away, but the controls stopped working. The black structure pulled them closer. Rilak shouted to his crew, "Full power. Get us out of here." Nothing happened. They drifted toward the surface of the structure. A hatch opened silently. Darkness waited inside. The ship was swallowed. Inside, the crew saw something impossible. They were no longer in space. They were in a place that had no time, no distance. They saw fragments of dead empires, floating like ghosts. They saw memories of civilizations that never existed. They saw pieces of the second door, and something worse waiting behind it. Dova whispered, "This is wrong. We need to leave." But they couldn't move. A shadow approached them. It wasn't Setlin, but it looked like her. Or maybe it was just her memory. Stretched across the seal, her voice echoed in their minds. "You have come too close." Relok tried to speak. "We didn't mean to." The shadow raised a hand. "It doesn't matter what you meant." Dova fell to her knees. "What is behind the second door?" the shadow whispered. "Not death." Then, "What?" The shadow's eyes burned. "The universe's first mistake." The crew trembled, Relok whispered. "Why guard it?" The shadow answered softly. "Because if it wakes up, everything will stop making sense." Dova whispered. "What do you mean?" The shadow's voice became a storm. "Reality itself will dissolve." The crew screamed, but there was no sound. The shadow spoke one last time. "You must carry the warning. You must tell the others." Relok begged, "Let us go. We'll tell them." The shadow touched their minds. Images filled their thoughts. Civilizations, rising and falling. Empires, leaving the same message. All of them saying the same thing before they vanished. Beware Earth. They guard something worse. And now the message was different. Beware the... With knowledge, they could never forget. Then they were back on their ship, floating in space. The black structure was gone. But the signal remained. Relok whispered, "We have to warn the galaxy." Relax. Hands shook. They have to. But deep down, they both knew the truth. Most of the galaxy would not listen. They would come looking for the black structure. They would search for the secret behind the message. And one day, they would push too far again, and the seal would finally break. The warning spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Ships whispered it through encrypted channels. Empires held secret meetings behind closed doors. Scientists, warriors, leaders, they all repeated the same words. Beware the seal. It is breaking. But not everyone believed the message. Some called it a lie. Some thought it was a trap to scare off explorers. And some thought they could control whatever was behind the seal. That was their first mistake high above a red star. The Dominion Council gathered inside their glass tower. Admiral Corrin slammed his fist on the table. "This is nonsense," he growled. His eyes burned with pride and anger. "We are the most powerful empire in the galaxy. We do not fear ghost stories." Next to him, Chancellor Vela spoke softly. "It's not just a story, Admiral." Her voice trembled. "I have seen the recordings. I have read the warnings left by every dead empire." Corrin shook his head. Words from defeated fools. Vela's eyes narrowed. They were not fools. They were desperate. Corrin stood tall. "Our ships are stronger. Our minds are sharper. We will find this so-called seal, and we will open it." Vela whispered, "Do not do this." But Corrin was already walking away. At the same time, across the galaxy, scavengers, scientists, and warlords searched for the black structure. Some wanted to study it, some wanted to destroy it, and some wanted to own it. That was the second mistake. The structure had not vanished. It had only moved. It now drifted in a quiet region of space known as the Dark Fold. No stars, no planets, just silence. But the structure wasn't silent inside. Something had started to change. The seal had weakened, and the thing behind it had noticed it had no eyes, no mouth, no shape, but it could feel, and now it was curious back on the scavenger ship. Relok sat in his dark quarters, his head in his hands. He whispered to himself over and over, "We should have never gone there." Dova knocked softly on his door. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. "It started, hasn't it?" she asked. Relok nodded slowly. Yes, they had done their part. They had spread the warning, but no one listened. Outside their window, the stars looked wrong. Some of them flickered, some of them blinked out. Dova pointed at the screen. "Look, in one of the galaxy's richest sectors, entire star systems disappeared. Not exploded, not destroyed, just gone, erased like chalk from a blackboard." Relak's voice cracked. "They're trying to reach the seal, and they're failing," Dova whispered. But the worst part, they weren't just failing, They were waking something up in the deep void. Research station, far from any planet. A team of alien scientists stared at a growing crack in space. Dr. Unka, the lead scientist, adjusted her scanner. "This is not a normal fracture," she whispered. Her assistant, Merrick's, stepped back. "What? Do you mean?" Unka's eyes widened. "This is a tear in reality itself." Merrick's shook his head. "That's impossible," Unka whispered. "Not anymore." The crack spread wider through it. They saw things that should not exist, shapes that didn't follow the laws of physics, sounds that bent time, a color no one had ever seen before. Merrick's covered his eyes. "I can't. Look at it." But it was too late. Their minds were already breaking. Back at the Dominion Council, Admiral Corrin received the report. "The research station is gone," his officer said. "Gone? How?" Corrin demanded. "Not destroyed, just removed." Corrin slammed his fist again. "I don't believe it." But deep down, he knew the truth. They had reached too far. They had touched the second door, and now the seal was breaking faster. In a forgotten temple on a distant moon, an old alien priest whispered prayers in a dead language. He lit a black candle and spoke to the shadows. "We warned them," he whispered. The message was clear, but the galaxy never listened. Now, the priest could feel the change. The temperature of reality itself was dropping. Time was bending in small circles. He looked up at the sky, and for a brief moment, he saw something behind the stars, something older. Then time something that wasn't supposed to be awake. He whispered one final sentence. "They don't know what they've done." On the scavenger ship, Dova tried to contact other ships, but no one answered. The communications were filled with static. Then came a voice. It wasn't a person. It wasn't a machine. It was the same voice that had warned them before. The woman who guarded the door, her voice was soft but shook the bones. "You should not have touched it." Rilak tried to speak. "We tried to warn them," the voice replied. "I know." Dova's lips trembled. "Is it too late?" The voice paused. "Yes." Rilak's heart stopped for a moment. "Can we fix it?" The voice whispered. "No." Outside. The ship, the stars shifted again. A shadow crawled across the galaxy's edge. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was the first piece of the second. Door breaking open. The woman's voice spoke again. "You must survive," Rilak whispered. "Why?" "Because someone must witness what comes next." Dova closed her eyes. What will come next? The voice grew colder. The end of sense, the death of logic, the collapse of what you call reality. The shadows spread wider, planets vanished, memories crumbled, civilizations screamed but no. Sound came out. Rilak whispered the words. He now understood completely. And in the heart of the black structure, behind the last lock, something began to smile. But it wasn't a smile like humans or aliens. No, it was a smile in concepts, a smile in forgotten math, a smile that had been waiting since before the universe was born, and now it was almost free. There was no warning when the final piece of the seal broke. No sound, no explosion, no bright light in the sky. It just happened across the galaxy. Every clock stopped ticking at the same moment. Ships froze in space. Cities held their breath. The laws of physics paused. Confused then, slowly. Everything started again but wrong. The universe had changed in a way no one could understand. Colors looked sharper, then duller, then something in between. Gravity bent sideways. Memories twisted. People remembered things. That never happened. And through it all, a voice whispered into every mind. It was not a voice that spoke in words. It was a pressure, a feeling, a deep knowing that something older than existence itself had arrived. Back on the scavenger ship, Rilak and Dova stared at the screens. All systems were still frozen. The only thing moving was the shadow. Outside, it stretched across star. Systems now, it wasn't a cloud. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. Something that had been locked away since before time. Rilak whispered, his throat dry. "What is it?" The woman's voice came back, but this time it was weaker. "I told you," she said. "They guard something worse." Dova pressed her hands against her ears. "But what is it?" The voice answered in a whisper so cold it froze her breath. "The thing that waited before time." Rilak tried to think logically, but logic no longer worked. "We don't understand," he whispered. The woman's voice cracked like ice breaking. "You're not supposed to understand." Outside the ship, reality flickered. Stars twisted into spirals. Planets melted into thoughts. Ships became memories, and then disappeared. The Galactic Dominion tried to fight it. They fired superweapons into the shadow. They called fleets from other galaxies. They tried to shut the seal again, but it was too late. The seal was not a door, it was not a prison. It was a warning label. And now the warning was gone. Inside the black structure, something moved, not forward, not backward. It moved in a direction that didn't exist. It unfolded itself like a puzzle with too many sides, and then, for the first time, it opened one eye, just one. That was enough. Every leader of every empire dropped to their knees. They screamed. But no sound came out. They spoke, but their words came out as shapes. Inside their minds, they saw the truth. This was not a monster. This was not a god. This was the universe's first mistake. Before atoms, before light, there had been something else, and the builders of the black structure had found it. Long ago, before any known species existed, the Zeroth Empire had discovered something terrible in the deepest layer of reality. They had trapped it, locked it away behind a seal, and they left behind a message for anyone who might come after them. Beware Earth, they guard something worse. But the galaxy had misunderstood. They thought Earth was the danger. They didn't realize Earth was the lock, a living part of the seal. Now that the seal was broken, Earth was changing too. Mountains whispered in sleep. Oceans reflected impossible skies, and deep below the surface, original mistake, and now it remembered itself. Rilak held Dova's hand tightly. His body shook. "What do we do?" he whispered. The woman's voice was fading fast. "There is nothing left to do." Her tone was soft, almost kind. "You were never meant to survive this." Dova's eyes filled with tears. "Then why did you warn us?" The voice whispered last time, so you would understand. The black structure cracked like glass. Pieces of it floated into the void. Behind it, there was no light, no shadow, just something else, something that smiled without form, something that watched without eyes. And then the galaxy folded in half. Not destroyed, not exploded, just folded. Like paper in invisible hands, Relok and Dova found themselves floating in a place that had no direction, no up, no down. They floated in the middle of a thought, a single idea held by the thing behind the seal. The idea was simple. It whispered into their minds, "I remember you." They realized it wasn't talking to them as individuals. It was talking to existence itself too. Reality, to everything that had ever been or would be. And it was not angry. It was not evil. It was just curious. The worst kind of curiosity, because now it wanted to play with galaxies, with time, with minds, and there was no one left to stop it. Back on Earth, the oceans turned black for 1 second. Every human blinked at the same time, and when they opened their eyes, they felt something at the edge of their thoughts, something new, something old, but none of them remembered why they felt it, except for one human, a little girl standing alone in a field. She looked up at the strange sky. She smiled softly, and she whispered a single sentence that no one else heard. "It's okay now." Her words carried across the broken fabric of space, across the folded galaxy, across the shadow that had taken everything. The thing behind the seal heard her, and for the first time, it paused, because the girl was not afraid, not confused. She knew exactly what it was, and she was not scared. The universe held its breath, and in that quiet moment, something impossible happened. The smile behind the seal stopped widening. It held still, not gone, not destroyed, just still, waiting again. For now, in the end, the galaxy learned the truth. Some doors should never be opened. Some warnings are not threats, they're instructions. And sometimes, the worst thing you can wake up is curiosity. The end.